Welcome back to Update On, and we're talking about the importance of families eating together. Now, it's very coincidental, Azar, that today is the first full day of Passover.
Wow.
So, a big communal dinner all across the world with people sitting down to pass the family traditions, because most Jewish traditions are passed and at the dinner table, and you eat. There's nothing better than food to make kids at least look like they're listening.
Correct. That's, it's our family tradition too. I remember when I was young, until everybody was at the table, nobody would eat. Even my parents, everyone had to be at the table. Even, in the morning for breakfast and dinner. Lunch, usually we were in school or my parents were at work and things. It was hard to do. But on the weekend, all three meals, we had to be together. And we learn a lot when you are at the table.
It's very interesting that all the latest research on how families function and how well children do in school are saying that you should eat one meal a day together. But I noticed that this is eroding, and some of people are citing, or some researchers are saying 3 dinners a week. Well, with kids over schedule, that may be practical, but it's not optimum.
It's not, because, they can always schedule their activities around the dinner table. They don't have to take the dinner time in order to do activities. It can always be arranged. But the thing is, people don't think about it. They just arrange things and then they become overwhelmed. And kids, these days, it's very, very important. I know people that their kids got bullied in school all the time, but their family don't know about it. And this is sad, because if they would eat together at the table, things would come up, and this kid doesn't have to kill herself. She didn't have to do any of the outrageous things, get into the drugs, into alcohol.
It's lack of communication, because you're looking at them eyeball to eyeball. Now, I was talking to one of my old friends who is about to turn 80 this year, and she says that when her grandchildren come, they know she has a basket by the front door, and all of their electronic devices have to be turned off and put in the basket until they leave. She says she doesn't see them that much, and she wants to talk to them instead of having their faces. And I know other people who have a basket on a side table to the dining table that all of the phones and everything go into the basket, so that we will talk. We're not going to sit here and watch you punch text messages into things.
It's very important, because if you're sitting at the table and looking at your computer all the time, or at your tablet or telephone, or answering the phone, that's not the quality time together. That is sitting together but not being together. And that's why, for me at dinner time, telephone is off, and it's not even in the same room with me. Just, God forbid, if I see something, and I forbid anybody comes to my home when I have a party, they have to turn off their phone. And that is must, because when we spend the family time together, we want to be together. And that is very important. If you have a job to do, come next time. That is my rule, people coming to my home. And they got used to it, and they know this is the way it has to be done.
Yeah, and these studies are getting ridiculous. I read a new one. People don't understand. I'm a family consumer scientist major, and I get all of these professional journals and everything, and I actually read them. What is a concept? But somebody did a study watching parents out at restaurants with kids, and they thought a method of goodness was parents only answering phone calls, not making phone calls and keeping the kids quiet. In both cases, you're really not communicating with the kid.
Exactly. That is completely true. What I believe that you said it's correct, because when you are together, you are communicating. You learn about each other. You learn what happened during the day to you, and what made you sad, what made you happy. These are very important, because that is what it makes bond between the families. And the kids know they have somebody to go to when they get in trouble or something bother them.
Well,
in life,
they've got somebody to hopefully talk to, and it might not be parents, it might be an older sibling, so they don't get into trouble.
Exactly. It can be anyone. But when everybody sits at the table together, you know who to go to when you are in trouble, or somebody cause trouble for you, just like, it is bullying that I was talking about. So being at the table, it makes it easier for them to communicate with their siblings or parents or somebody that they know they can trust.
And that's a good deal of the problem with our society, because there's a lack of trust.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they
trust somebody that they don't have to. Their friends, that they are not better than them. They don't know as much as their parents or older siblings know. They go and trust a friend that this is just like at the same level as they are.
Lord of the Flies. You don't know that book. Yeah.
Or internet. Don't start me on that.
We don't want to talk about the
and
internet.
Facebook and things,
But children that eat at the family dinner table have higher academics, and it may be that, or it may be the fact that they're on a schedule. Because if you're just running around and picking food up, you and I both put on weight over time, eating the American trifecta on the run: fat, sugar, and salt. Not good for us, but that's a standard American diet. And we're talking about things like a family dinner.
When you make the family dinner, to me, I have an experience with my own daughter. When she was, old enough to make food, she always made dinner for us, and table was set. When I would come from work, we would sit and eat together. And that was until, all these years, until today, it happens when we are together, we eat together. We don't, one doesn't run off with a hot dog and, go to the computer or run off of the house to do something. And this is not family bonding. And we need that. Especially, when kids eat together, they can cook together too at the same time and learn to be self-sufficient, And that's why my daughter, when she moved away to LA, a lot of people said, "Oh my God, she's too young, and what she's going to do?" I said, I know she can take care of herself, because she can cook, she can do other stuff, and that she learned over the years, mostly at the dining room table.
And kids like to cook.
They do. They do, actually, they do.
And if you deal with Montessori preschools, that's one of the things that happen. Look at a 2-year-old playing with a kitchen, a toy kitchen.
Exactly.
And so you don't let them do anything that's dangerous. And there are a lot of children's cookbooks out, and they'll say right at the spot, you need an adult to help you.
But, it depends. When they are in a certain age, they can do certain stuff. Like, when they are very young, you can ask them to empty groceries for you. You can ask them to bring the vegetables for you or fruit for you, and things that they don't have to touch knives. But when they are a little older and they can handle themselves better, you can ask them to cut, peel, and these type of things. And when they are really old and they are teenagers, they can even help you in cooking, grilling, baking, and all these little stuff. It depends, how they, your kids can handle.
Well, and you're teaching math skills, you're teaching
exactly
measuring, you're teaching reading skills, following directions. How many kids do we know that can't follow directions? How many adults do we know that can't follow directions? But let's get back to eating together. All kinds of positive things happen at the dinner table.
That's true, because one of the biggest things that happens that it's for us, I remember eating together, it's table etiquette. You know, how to eat properly, how to use a spoon and fork. Even these things, most of the kids I see, they don't know how to use spoon, fork, or knives properly, or how to deal with each other, how to be respectful to each other, and let the other person talk and listen, and not jump in, in other words. And also, in our family, my grandparents used to live with us. You learn how to respect older people too at the dinner. At that moment you learn all these things.
There's a very sad college course that many universities give to seniors before they are going to go on job interviews, to teach them how to act with a prospective employer at lunch. Mm-hmm. Because they do not have these manners. They do not know how to conduct themselves.
Exactly. Maybe we can do one show on the table etiquettes. We can go.
Well,
we can do that.
There's also one of the Miss Manners types that is now said that leaning your elbows on the table is okay. I guess you need your elbows on the table to play with your electronic device.
Probably.
I read
that's why
week.
That rule came out.
Well, no, I saw it on television and I thought, oh my God, we're going backwards.
One more thing, when you are cooking together and you are interacting together at the dinner table, and what it did, first of all, the food you eat, it moves nutrients in it because it's fresh. It hasn't lost its vitamins, minerals. And also, when kids cook with you, they most probably eat that food because they helped you to cook it, and also they know they had their hands in it, and it's most likely to eat it than refuse to eat it.
Well, it's food chemistry and you eat your experiment.
Right.
You're talking about eating fresh fruits and vegetables. Interestingly enough, this week has an article about how fresh fruits and vegetables are better for you. Like, duh, we didn't know that.
We know, but we forget. It's
easy to forget. And it's easier to do prepackaged things because they have shelf life. And you've got to know what's in your refrigerator to eat up what's in there.
But the ones you buy from outside, it has, first of all, it costs 2 to 3 times more. Second, it has lost all its nutrients because it's not made fresh because of the shelf life. And also, when you go to eat at the restaurant, it costs you a lot of money. It costs like 4 to 5 times as much you make at home. And you don't know the person who's handling it, how they handle it. I'm not saying don't go out and eat. Treat yourself. Go out. But not every lunch and dinner and breakfast,
Well, we know people that eat like that. And
yes.
It's convenient, but it is very high cost. And the best thing you can probably do for yourself is take up the hobby of cooking.
Exactly.
Because you can this is another lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Because most things don't take that long to make.
You see, I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and she said, I don't cook. I said, why don't you cook? I know you can cook. She said, it takes too much time. I said, you don't know how to time manage yourself because you don't have to cook every day. The way I do, I half cook things. And then I put them in the freezer, freeze them myself. And then when I'm ready to cook them again, I bring them out and then I mix it with other stuff. And that way it doesn't take me that much time to do it.
Well, it's redoing things. It's not leftovers. They're planned overs.
Exactly.
In the 50s, in the late 50s, when I was keeping house for my father, we always had roast beef on Sunday. Then on Monday we had sliced roast beef sandwiches because everybody was working. And I would take whatever was left over and make shepherd's pie for Wednesday.
You see, you had 3 meals out of 1 meal, basically. And this is time management for food. You don't have to cook every day and stay on top of the stove or and the kitchen all day long. You can do it, especially our food are more time consuming to make them. What I do them half cooked, and I freeze them, and then when I'm ready to make them, I just bring that as much as I cook them, and I start, by the time I get home and I take my shower and do my little stuff, the food is ready.
It's, your food has your traditional food, which is not an American style, it's a Persian style of cooking, has a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
And a lot of fresh herbs. And it's called chopping it up. And if you look at Rachel Ray on her programs, she'll say bring everything home and prep it pre-wash it and put it in the refrigerator. And most people just leave it for the last minute when they're going to cook it. But things like lettuce are crisper if you do her style.
Right. But it depends how to keep them too. That's what I do, for salad. I have salad every night, but I do different ingredients in it, so it would taste different every day. But that's what I do. I prep them. Exactly, that's what you said. I prep them before, and I take one day, couple of hours. I prep these things, and I have food for the rest of my week, so I don't have to worry about it.
And if you were going to have you and your sister sit down to eat, or in my case, another family of 2, my husband and I, to eat. The idea is, okay, what did you do today? What do you need to do tomorrow? What was the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Right. What we sit down and talk. And at the table, as I said, we learn the bond is there, and we know the love would be there, and that it's, those are the type of bond that you would create with other people. And the other thing is, what I do, then a lot of people can do at home the same thing, to cook different food from different countries. So you would become familiar with the food of different culture. Also, you can have some conversation about that country. So your kids will learn geography and also different cultures this way without forcing it on them. But if they don't like it, you don't force your kids to eat anything. You have other foods handy, so if you force them, they're not going to learn and they're not going to love. But they come around after a few meals that you made.
The one thing that I have found the internet is good for, to look up strange ingredients and things, and you don't have to cook international foods using really exotic things. Sometimes it's just the juxtaposition of the ingredients and the way they're prepared.
Exactly. Well, what you have in your pantry, it would work.
Exactly. Now, talking about kids trying something new. No one knows why, but it takes 7 different times of them trying it before they decide they like it. I will embarrass my son. He sits there one night, and I had made a very elaborate salad for him. And on the 3rd helping, he goes, "Mommy, what kind of salad is this?" "It's spinach." He would never touch spinach because his father wouldn't eat spinach. And he looks at me, cocks his head to one side with his big glasses and his freckles. And he goes, "That's strange. I didn't know I liked spinach."
You see? Because they get something in their head that they don't like it. And most of the time, I experience that with my niece. when she goes, she'll eat something, but when she goes to school, she comes back the next day, she doesn't like it. Because other kids in school says, I don't like spinach, for example, or I don't like parsley, or I don't like that. She comes home, all of a sudden she doesn't like it. And if you force the kid to eat those things, or peas, a lot of kids don't like peas and carrots. If we force them to eat it, they're not gonna eat it for long time until they really.
They'll be president of the United States and they still won't eat it.
Exactly. But if you don't force them, just leave it there. Let them get used to seeing it. Get them used to aroma of the food you make it. And all these things. And little bit, 7 times, then they would go and take it.
Well, that's the beauty of serving what's called family style, with things in dishes that have to be passed, which also teaches manners.
Exactly.
So you don't put a full serving of a new something on a plate and make the kids sit there and finish it, as was done to my generation.
Yes.
I have a friend that sat through until 9 o'clock at night and it reappeared the next morning for her breakfast. We've gone beyond that.
Right.
But it also teaches manners. Please pass the mashed potatoes. Please pass the vegetable. Please pass the fruit salad.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you.
And also, one more thing, it is very important. Family that they eat together, they don't eat too much sugar. They don't eat too much salt. They don't use all these sodas, sugary sodas as much. They can more inclined to eat what their parents eat, like drink water if they don't drink water, more healthier habit. They pick up more healthier habit besides eating fresh.
I wonder, and I'm so non-subtle, we have about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I remember in school that when you set a proper table, you always put out water glasses with ice in it. I don't know very many families that do that, but it was a given.
Yes. That's, that's a habit, what you do. And one of the, I just remember one of the habits I have for eating food, I always set up the table. Even if I'm alone at home, I set up the table just like I'm having a guest coming over. I set the plates and forks and knives and food and everything, because it doesn't matter if I'm alone or not at home. For some reason I have to eat alone, and my sister is not there at that night. So why do I have to eat in the kitchen over the sink? It doesn't make sense to me. And every time I want to bring something to the dining room table, I bring one thing at a time. So I do my exercise at the same time too. I don't go and put everything on a tray and bring it to the table.
Well, I remember my grandparents being very highly orthodox. I wasn't allowed to drink milk with a meat dinner.
Mm-hmm. I remember we wouldn't do that too.
Yes, and I remember the seltzer water that was brought up, and my grandmother had flavorings, and she'd put just a little drop of flavoring so that it looked pretty. Mm-hmm. But it was self-contained. I suspect seltzer water has a batch of salt in it. I'm not sure, but
it does.
It still wasn't as sugary and as high caloric as the sodas that we buy.
The sodas is full of sugar and color. This is nothing but food coloring and sugar, basically. And I don't drink them. I don't take them. And it's very important. Just drink water. Put different fruit, whatever you like in there. That is what we do.
And we have 2 minutes now.
Okay.
What is the lesson that we would like people to put into practice in their enhanced healthy lifestyles?
In my opinion, it's not only you eat nutritious food, and also it's it has an economic value, but it has a mental value too. It prevents kids from having a conflict at all time with each other and with their classmates when they go to school. It gives them the feeling of the belonging. They have somebody to support them, just like somebody is standing behind them and doesn't let them fall. It gives them that sense. It gives them sense of love, and it gives them a sense of tolerance towards other people and older people, younger people, and also it gives them sense of listening, to sit down and listen what the other person says without being, interrupting other person. And also, it helps them to discuss family matters at home. If something bothering them or something, plan things like vacations together, it would give them that things too. And that's very important.
It's extremely important because we all need to belong.
Exactly.
And food and eating is more than nourishment. It's more than fuel. It is your sense of yourself and your sense of community. So, Azar, to all of you, and we pray for peace for every nation everywhere.